Next up, Sound Stories with Byron Nash, episode 7 with my favorite artists. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sound Stories with Byron Nash. I'm your host, Byron Nash, and this is episode number 7, featuring the one and only, one of my favorite artists of all time, Bjork. I know that's a big jump from where we were before. It seems like I was, riding the rock and heavy metal road, which I am. But this channel is about all music and all the things that really inspired me. So I wanted to talk about how I got into Bjork because it kind of came off of the heels of me being deeply, deeply into metal. And in the early 90s, metal was going through its more metamorphosis of just kind of finding its voice. Like grunge kind of not mess things up, but it changed the landscape of it. Let me rephrase that. It didn't mess things up. It just changed a lot of things. So metal was like kind of trying to figure things out. Metallica had the Black Album. Grunge is doing its thing. Alternatives kind of, alternative was already there, but everyone thought that the new music was considered alternative, even though that was happening long before that in different ways. So for myself, as a listener, as a metalhead, as a music fan, I was starting to hit these walls where certain groups that I really liked still, they they just weren't like giving me new stuff. It was like kind of regurgitating, the same riffs. And I also wanted to like grow outside of what I was listening to. My collection was like metal. That's all I had at the time. I didn't have a lot of stuff. Um, and I had two buddies, Mike and Jim, and we'd have these like record shopping days where we would go into Oakland, we'd go to Jerry's and all this stuff. And we would just hit probably 5 stores on a Saturday and just be sifting through. And I remember just being in this place where I wanted to hear something different. And it wasn't even like an anti-metal thing. I just wanted to hear something different. I wanted to be intrigued. I wanted to be inspired in a different way. And I was taking risk on a lot of things that I would buy. So one of the first things I remember wanting to listen to a lot of like female fronted or oriented music because metal's so like raw guys, male masculine energy, which is awesome. But I remember first I think I got like a BB King CD for like $1. And at the time, I could play like parts of like rock and metal riffs and stuff. Wasn't that good on guitar or anything yet. And I remember listening to BB King, and don't worry, I'm getting there on the Bjork thing. I was listening to BB King and couldn't find the notes that he would just go bow, bow. And I'm like, I'm searching around the neck, like, where the hell, how did he say so much with so little? So that was sort of the beginning of me like going in all directions and just trying to embrace everything. And one of the first CDs I got, without ever hearing it, I just took a chance on it, was the Sugar Cubes. This is Life's Too Good. And Bjork was in this group, and I don't know what it was. I just fell in love with this stuff. It was so different than anything I listened to. It was so different from anything I was even interested in. And it really opened my ears to like a different like chordal structure. They're from Iceland, so the way they approach music is totally different. Um, and I was in it. I mean, that wasn't the only one. It was like them, the Cranberries, the Sundays. I might even do a whole thing on like what was it, 10,000 Maniacs. I was Tori Amos. I was on all of those kind of simultaneously. But Bjork always stood out because she was so different. So then I think the Sugar Cubes had maybe one more record, like "Stick Around for Joy." And actually, my first band, Sporadic, there's a song in there called like "Hit." I think we used to cover that. That's how much I loved Bjork. So when she went solo, I guess it was 92, 93. 93, I think, Debut came out. Man, this record, not only did it change my perspective on what I wanted to hear, but it also got me into electronic music and just different ways of production and sparse arrangements, listening to, like, I didn't listen to music that had horns in it. I didn't listen to music that had, everything was sort of guitar driven unless I was listening to something and maybe had some keys in there like Dream Theater or something like that. It was very kind of narrow. And this record really was an eye opener for me. But it wasn't just that. At the same time, I was going to art school for graphic design. So I was like so head over heels for Bjork that I was like doing these like photocopy experimental pieces of art where I would like double her face and like do posters and all this stuff. And that's what sort of got me into the marketing component of designing flyers for bands and stuff like that in the early 90s. That's kind of how another backdoor of how I got affiliated with the music industry. Wasn't how I got into it, but it's how I got kind of started being near it. But something about Bjork was always unique because her packaging, her marketing of her packaging was totally unique to itself. And what I found in her music was that she was always sort of chasing what the next thing was that she wanted to do, no matter what accolades or what the alternative press thought or whatever money she made or how big she got. She was always like, you knew the next record was going to be completely different than the other record. It would still be her, but it would be really different. And I thought about that, especially back then, because it was kind of easy to go in a direction that felt like, what's going to be lucrative? What are they going to buy? Because the record industry was still very much so the machine as it was back in the day. This is all pre-internet. So I continued on my Sugar Cubes thing. Like they were done, but I still was like listening to them very heavy. And then Post came out, and this has Army Me, yeah, with produced by Tricky. So I was getting it like trip hop and all that stuff, like Portishead and Morchiba came a little later, but like all those groups like that where like it was kind of really heavy beats, industrial meets kind of like, I don't even know, trip hop, whatever trip hop was. And this record was really exploded. And this is when almost everything was kind of alternative at that point. It was like a free for all. But, even cover to cover, there's like a growth you can see there. And so I was always really inspired by that. Loved her music, loved her lyrics. I loved the way there would be the album version, but then there would always be these other different like interpretations of those songs. And a lot of that I would find out about through her having DVDs or these box sets. So, and I have some like B-roll pictures that will be there, but like this thing, and this just kind of as an artist got me inspired about like how there's different ways to represent yourself, you know? I'm just going to kind of fly through these. So these are all singles of songs that were going to be on a record later, right? And it's just like these cool photographs, but the packaging is dope. You get my drift? And that's just that. Then I went on a deep dive and got more box sets, you know, and she just kept getting better with her stuff. Like that's funky, that's cool. This is all 90s, man. Um, this is awesome too. A little booklet and has all the like kind of behind the scenes stuff. So and these were really the other thing, she kept them really affordable. Get a box set for like $30 and then it ends up becoming a collector's item. So funny story, when I first much later, like maybe 4 or 5 years later, 6 years, when I first got into the music industry and I was doing media, I was so ripe. I didn't have chops yet. I didn't know how to navigate. I didn't know how to be around all that stuff yet. And Bjork was playing in DC. I was living in Pittsburgh at the time, working for the magazine, Rock and Roll Reporter. My boss, I was like, I'm such a Bjork fan. Please help me get this thing. So he gets me Bjork tickets, and I didn't have an interview, but I had a photo pass. And the way it works is that you typically get to shoot the first 3 songs of a set, and then you're like shuffled out of there. So you ever see the photo pick guys, and they're down there, guys and gals. They only get 3 songs, so you got to shoot your shot while you can get it. Especially back then, because it was really competitive. And if there was like a bigger magazine or newspaper or a more experienced photographer, they would like be physical. They would like bump your camera so you got like a crappy shot. So I had to like stand my ground, but I didn't have like a real camera. I had like a point and shoot. Back then, no digital camera, so you didn't even know if your shot was good until you got it developed. So it was like a really high pressure, high skill game. And I got my passes, and my buddy and I went to the show. I had to pick up my passes at will call, and then we went and hung out for a little bit because I had some time. And then when it was time to get in there, it was so packed, like I could not navigate how to get through to get to the photo pit. And you're trying to call like a tour manager or some type of publicist to kind of connect it and make it all happen, and it ends up like I just can't get any closer, so I don't get these shots, and I'm really bummed about it. And I'm new, like it's probably one of my first 3 shows I'm covering. And then we hang out and we're good to go, like we enjoy the show, it's incredible. And then later on, I still have my pass on, kind of just like hanging out, probably having a beer, drinking, and post show partying. And I like looked down and realized I had full backstage access. Still breaks my heart to this day. I can't believe that. So I don't know if I would have been able to meet Bjork, but I know that I had access to be backstage, and I really effed that up. Right? Never again. So that was a valuable lesson. So that always stands out for me, to make sure that like when I was doing like pro things, that I was operating at a very high level and keeping myself professional. I was just kind of young and excited. I was like kind of a stupid fan, like woohoo, Bjork. Um, but man, what a L, right? I really missed out on that. So over time, I just continued to like collect DVD concerts. This one's pretty wild. And then I think Mike Patton from Faith No More and Fantomas and Mr. Bungle, I think they did a song, it's in here in this documentary. You could just see the development happening here um, over time. And you can also see my obsession with Bjork. So she's just one of those people that inspired me to keep on going, like keep creating, and don't rest on your laurels of your past success. And I've always loved that about her. I love that about any artist who's like that, her, Prince, whoever is like, I mean, what the hell is that, right? I think that's so cool. Um, but she also was like sort of a gateway for me to get into like electronic music and electronic sounds. So like when these records came out, you could hear like Homogenic is it's probably my favorite. I think these two might be my favorite, but when this hit, I don't know, there was something really deep, sensual, kind of like computer cold about it, but still warm in its delivery. And then by the time she was here, it was like Vespertine. She was just on another level, another planet with it. So that always inspired me to just continue to chase growth and make sure that I'm always developing as an artist, and that's why Bjork's music speaks so strongly to me. I wanted to share this with you guys, and I'll do some B-roll for it. So I got this thing. I tried to clean it up. There was a little stain on it, and I was kind of pissed about it. But she had this box set back in the day called Family Tree, and I bought it. And I was like, "Oh, this is so badass!" And it came in this like little plastic thing, and then I opened it, and then it just got exceptionally weird. I'll definitely B-roll some of this stuff for you guys. But again, it's, we're talking really creative, different types of things. So I was all excited. I was like, oh, dope, CD, cool. What are these little things? These are little mini discs. And I was like, well, what's the point of doing that? I don't have a mini disc player. Like, I mean, I'm all about the creativity and all the uniqueness, but what am I supposed to do with this? And then I learned, I'm not even sure how I learned it, if someone told me or if it was a discovery. But if you if you have an old school CD player, I still do. I have like 3 of them. But when you would hit eject, it would come out, put your CD in, but there would be that kind of mini circle in the middle. It's for these. Huh. I mean, stop it. If I see another one out, I'm gonna buy another one of these just to have a backup. But again, really creative, really cool, innovative. I think that's the word. When I think of Bjork, I think of innovation. I think of how technology came to be. I think of the internet. I think of cell phones. I think of ideas that seem scary at first, and then everyone ends up adopting or embracing them. And that's always been a big deal for me. I have a huge poster over there of, I don't know if you've ever seen that black and white picture of her naked in the garden with a big flower in front of her. Something about that just represented freedom to me, and I just love that about her music. So I am a hardcore Bjork fan. I know she just did a performance, like a guest performance at the Brit Awards, which was really cool to see, like the younger generation embracing her as well. And I want to thank Bjork and the Sugar Cubes for the inspiration of kind of breaking me out of, I don't want to say breaking me out of my metal mindset, but opening me up to different like chords and ways to express myself, uh, how to listen to music, but then also how to create music that was not in my wheelhouse or not in a direction that I would normally do, or a little softer. It's kind of in like my aggro phase of life, and so that kind of opened me up to things that were a little bit more sensitive and emotional, emotive, um, deeper. And if I had to name my top 5 influences, Bjork would actually be very, very high on that list. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And if you're not familiar, I would start with Post. Let's start there. If you don't know any Bjork at all, let's start there and then make your way around. Um, but thank you for tuning in, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. There's a lot of cool things coming up with this channel. I am super stoked. Um, I can't even tell you what's coming next, but thank you very much. My name's Byron Nash. Got a little bit of Bjork inspired music for you, and I'm signing off. See you on the next episode.